Hello, and welcome back to the stream. So now what going to do is improve the system. Like starting with the idea I told you last time, that was future ideas. That was like this, introducing more HTTP routes. I'll do this, and one promise I make is that by the end of this week, that's around next Sunday, I'll have a I'll write all the tests in one go for the project, and then after that I'll switch to test driven development instead of normal development. Currently I'm learning about how to write tests in Go and all that. So after a week I'll write all the tests. For now, today is a small topic which is introducing more HTTP routes. So what I'll do is introduce more HTTP routes, like for jobs I have only a create job and a get job route, but there are more than these methods we publish. Like let me give you the context. uh, so we have a create job, we have a get job, we have a update job status. So we don't need to expose this because it's internal working. Then a delete job. Do we need to where do we use it? Let's have a look. A delete. Let me read about it. Where do we use it? Do we use it in anywhere other than the r.delete? Not this one. Delete that job. That's about deleting the yeah, I think we are using it. Let me check how the code implementation goes, like dlq.go. How does it go? Delete that job. So internally it calls this and then it calls this. Yep. So we don't need any more methods to be exported by the jobs. But in the case of dlq and q, firstly I'll have to start with the q implementation, q.go. So I'll insert some handlers for q.go that will help us to manage the queue from API requests. Like I can have methods like let's first read about what are the methods that the queue exposes. So the queue exposes is methods like where's the interface I can reveal, enqueue, dequeue, length, and name. So what I can do is I can expose methods for no, for enqueue and dequeue should go like the flow it is, but I can expose method for the length and the name. Also I can expose methods for, let me think about as I remember I have method for enqueue, dequeue, length, subscriber notification, and a manager. Yeah, I can instead expose methods for this. We can register a queue externally. Yep, this one will be better. So first I will do is I'll expose method for registering a new queue, getting the name of the current queue, getting the current queue as a no, this is internal. Set default. I can I can expose this to set the default queue, and to get the default queue value, default name and all that is internal working. List names, I can list the names. Yep. So what I'll do is I'll write handlers for some of these, like let's just start with the code, then only we can understand. Package handlers again. What I'll do is I'll try to achieve the same structure of code as before. So I'll create a type of what will be our first request. So our first request will be like first request will be register a queue. So type register like register queue request. So what we want here is, that's the question we want here is, firstly it's a struct In the last time we needed type, payload, priority, delay, and maximum retries. But in the queue part, we need where's the manager? We need a queue to get registered. Yep, that's the issue. We need a queue view. How can we get a queue? Um, from the user, I can take the name, like name of the queue. Create a queue. I'll create a queue. Instead, registers sounds too vague. I'll create a queue. The user should not know about our manager, but we should API design. We have to design the API here. What should the API be and what should it expose? If I create a queue request, create queue request. Firstly, let me think. Firstly, let me see how I handle that. So that we created new client, new Redis store, new Redis queue. So we created a new Redis queue and we registered that queue.new Redis queue. Okay. Main queue. Redis queue equals to queue.new Redis queue. We created a new Redis queue with the name default and the client Redis client. Okay. So in this thing, I have to think about what will be my. Should I also pass like client? But that can cause issues like some will. So client should be set by the main here. So if user Redis is there, then we will do this, and then else we will do this. I have to think about this. Let's think about this for a sec. Okay. Let's think. So let's create something like I have a queue here. It works on Redis, and I have a queue here. It works on in memory part. So what I want is, do I expose this as this to in API, or I should rely on global interface like global queue users? Since we are, I think it's better to use global queue currently. So if we have a Redis config, I'll use Redis queue, and if it that I'll check by function if else and all that. But for now, what method should I expose? Should I expose the method to create a queue? What should the create queue method do? If I send a method, it should create a queue and register it. That should be the thing. Yep, I should do something like that. No need in thinking much. So it will take a name and anything else it needs. What does my queue need other than that? Queue.go, it needs name and queue manager. I have to check here the manager. Where's my okay? So register. What does it need? A queue, which I'll create by the name, and the client will be Redis client, or that I have to think by using the main injection. Queue related to this all works fine for now. So I have a name. I don't need this for now, so I can just create a handler function. Point h to the handler, and it should be a pointer to the handler, obviously. And the name of the function should be create new queue. Okay. create a new queue. So user can create multiple queues. I have to also test these things. So I can copy this part from here because this is the standard interface for any handler, and I should import HTTP. I mean, that's all we need here. So what it will do first is it will create a queue, create a new queue with the name provided, and it will also, what it will also do is after creating the new queue, it will register the new queue to the queue manager. So it will register the queue too. So what I'll do is, firstly I'll check if the firstly I have to check. So I can, since it's taking only one argument, I don't need the body. I can take the queue name argument from our we can say our parameters, request parameters. So let's do it. So what I'll do is queue name equals to g dot use param. I need to import g dot use param. So I'll use the param URL param. Sorry. So I'll send the request, and the key will be our it will be queue. It will be queue. So the request would look like something like please create slash queue equals to something like that. Okay. What it does, it takes ID and get the job. So request will be like create slash queue name, which will like let's say email and all. I want to create an email queue, so it will be create slash email on our queue route. Something like this will be our structure. So I'll take the queue name, and queue name equals to g.param or queue. Okay. So we have a queue name. What I'll do is register the queue. Create new queue. So what I'll do is go to the queue package. Dot new Redis queue or a new memory queue. That depends on the work. But how can I grasp? Does the next server give us information like that? What we are using currently? Store. It has a store, a queue manager, ID, it a DLK store. But since our both our, let me think about this one. So what I do here is in the jobs, I do is store.get. Yep, I can use this h.queue manager, but it only has the queue manager, so it does not create a new queue. It does not expose the method to create a new queue. So I have to add this to our server and in our handler. So firstly, the handler helper, we have to use queue equals to, it will be queue.queue. Okay. Just like the store, we will use this, and I think this will work fine. And here also I will expose this like queue equals to Oh, here I have to think. I can't expose something like q.q here handler helper q.q. It's a interface that has enqueue length and name. It does not create a new queue. So what is the method to create a new queue that I have to think? Where did I write the method to create a new queue? In the redis.code file I have a dq, I have an enqueue. So that's not needed. I have manager. So it registers. What it does is it takes a queue. It takes a queue. Let's see how a queue is created. For main queue is queue.queue type. And Redis queue is for the new Redis queue, and yeah, that's the issue. We have a new Redis queue function and a new memory queue function. So how can I grasp? How can I consider if the queue is memory queue? We are currently using the memory interface, or the should I pass? I can give it something like is Redis, which will be a tool. Okay, so it will do is Redis. It will store Redis as Redis. So the handler helper will do something like this, and it will do is Redis goes to is Redis. I'll default it to false. So it takes is Redis, which is a bool. Okay. Unknown field is Redis in this step. Yep, I have defined it. Here is Redis. Bool. Can I default it here? Yep. I have to default it here. Is Redis. What's to false? I forgot how to. Let me check how to define default values in argument. Go argument, go function argument. Okay, let's see what it does is we'll take okay, we don't have this. Go how to have default argument. That's the main question. So what it does is does not natively support default argument values for function variables. Developer use one of the several with the function option pattern and configuration structs being the most common. So config name age int. What is the default value? Default value for bool and go. If it is false, then I don't need to change anything. Okay, it is false, so I don't need to change anything. My code will work fine. It will come out to be false if nothing is passed. So the code will work fine. From here onwards, I need to add this. Is Redis, I have to add here is Redis. Sorry. Okay. The queue.go, I will check it later. Server.go, I think it needs to pass in s.isRedis. And lastly, here, when we create a new create a HTTP server, I have to add a small check here. use Redis is true, but Redis URL is empty. That will be checked above, so that's not the issue. Okay, so I can create a, or I can create a good hook. What should I? If cfg dot use Redis is true, I have an API server, I'll define it, server equal to API server API doesn't it. Let's see what it does. It has a server struct, so I'll have it. It's a %, API dot server type. Okay, it's an empty server for now. Okay, with default values we will have it. If it is use Redis, we will have a new server job star and a true value. Else we will have something like API server. Oh, we don't need to. Let's do. And since it's a, I need to do something like since it's a API server is type of star API server. API server value will be like will be what it will be. Job store will be equal to job store. Then we will have other methods such as queue manager, ID generator, ID generator. I know this code looks horrible because it is horrible. ID generator. What's their issue? Goes to ID. What is our ID generator? Snowflake gen. So ID generator is this, and then we have other things like DLQ store equals to where the DLQ store where's the DLQ store is DLQ store. It is stored in DLQ store, and lastly I'll have is Redis. What I can do instead is this. I can default the values to all this, and we have something like this, and this will be wait a second. Job store will be job store. Then I have other field, unknown field job store. What's the field name? Store. Okay, store. What is the issue? API store is equal to new API store. New server. That should be. It will be job store. The queue manager. the Snowflake ID generator, which will be a Snowflake generator, and a DLQ store, and is Redis currently set to false. Okay, if cfg.use Redis, what I'll do is API server dot is Redis. How can I API server is Redis? How can I do something like? How can I change the values? So it will give us API server use the name is Redis. How can I do something like this? Is it feasible or not? No. API server local variable is not a type. It's a type of API.server and it's a struct. How can I change the value of a struct? Is struct immutable in Go? That's the question. Is struct immutable in Go? Most structs are not immutable in Go. How can I update the field? How can I update? Okay, I have to syntax and recording. You can never API. Okay. Dot is Redis. That was what I was doing, but I think it does not expose this. My space is undefined, cannot refer to an exported field is Redis. Let me think about the server structures. Why can there be issue? Let's think. Let's ask the AI. Yeah, that. What the fuck was it? Sorry for the cussing, cuss words. But what the hell was I doing? cfg.use Redis. That's as simple as it can be. Yep. Sorry for my interruptions. That should be as good as it can. So create new queue depends on if h dot is Redis is true, we will use what is our method. We will create a queue. Instead we can have a queue here. EUP. Okay. So what I can do is, since I only want the type of the queue, you can have multiple types. It is based on Redis queue or it is not a Redis queue. So I can simply call if h dot is Redis, I'll go with queue equal to queue dot new Redis queue with a name which is a queue name and a Redis client. Now coming to the Redis client, we don't have the privilege of having the Redis client here because main handles all that. I have to define how flow of my API will go. Something like cfg.use Redis. I'm using this. Okay, I have to refactor a lot if I think about that way, but how is the Redis client created? Where is the Redis client? Here is the Redis client created. I can't pass it around like this to the API surface. That's the issue. Let's take help of our AI too. Sorry. So like I have to check help of my AI. I have to create an API that internal that takes name as argument and returns and creates a queue and it's register it in the manager without yeah that will be fine and register it in the manager. I have an issue the function to create a Redis queue needs a Redis client instance. How can I approach this? The Redis client should not be exposed. According to me, should not be exposed unless its main function. Oh, let's think about this one. What will it tell is the end will let's see. I'm preparing to read. Okay, it will take some time. By then I should also research on Google. Like what can I do? Yep. Yeah. This line is very good. A clean approach is adding a queue factory. I can create a queue factory interface. That will be much better. Yep. I can do so. Let me create a factory. That can be a helpful function for the factory.code. Okay. So what I'll do here is I'll have a factory function that will redirect the approach, whether it's a memory-based architecture or it's a Redis-based architecture based on that. Detailed what it does is so it takes a memory factory and a new Redis factory. What has our AI generated? Let's see. Factory. So it's a factory interface which takes a new new memory factory return ampersand. We have memory factory has a new function like this, and Redis client has a Redis factory has a new Redis factory client this, and a new function like this. So how will it go? That's the main thing. Instead of is Redis, we'll have a queue factory here, and in main.go what it has done is what the hell? Why is it here? If cfg.redis differ function, I think something is wrong here. What it is doing is q.redis factory. How can we initiate the factory? There's no way to initiate the factory. What the hell, where's the main function? I have to check it too. But what the? It removed my main function for a second. That's why I don't trust AI that much. So it is creating a queue factory here and a function here, Redis factory. We have to queue new factory and it will set the queue factory. And based on the queue factory, I'll have a function like that and I'll undo all the changes. I can do this by myself. So let's firstly stop the AI. It's just spitting a lot. So I'll remove the function h.isRedis for now because I should also remove all the changes of the AI, all the changes, anything there, no changes. So I'll remove the isRedis interface from here, isRedis interface from here, isRedis interface from here, and isRedis interface from here. Lastly, isRedis interface from here, and now main. Where's our main? What's the issue? Not enough arguments in the call to handle it. Okay, it's taking one more argument. There it is. Okay, now we have a working prototype here. Next thing I need to do is grow. I have to revert. That's why I don't like AI handling my stuff like that. It deleted my server main file. That's a pain in the on its own. So I'll touch this later. What I'll do here is what it takes is not enough arguments to the new server. So what dot do takes dlp.store, dlp.store, dlp.store. Why is there some issue? dlp.store. New server takes. Oh, I didn't change the function signature. I think. Yep. Now it will be okay. Factory. I'll create a factory function and just remove this for now. Just remove this for now. For now, just comment it out. Okay. Package. It will be in queue package. So what I'll do is I'll create a factory. Let's create a font. Let's create an interface. Type factory. Then interface. That has a function new, which takes a queue name, which will be a queue name. Sorry, string. It takes a string, then argument. Okay. That's cool. Now what I'll do is I have an interface for new and it returns us a queue. So what is a queue? Yep, a queue and error if any occurs. You want to pass the error around. That's enough for now. So what I'll do is I'll have a factory for our new Redis assistant. Okay. So what I'll do is func it will be on our mem queue. We will point it over memory queue will do it new. Take a name, string, connect new. Yeah, that's. So what we'll do is what's the AI do? I have to check it. And hold on. So it will do memory struct and memory factory struct. Okay. But why do I need a struct? Memory factory struct. Okay. To take the argument. Okay. To take the client here. That's why I need a struct in memory factory. Could be empty if you name it also this, if you name it also this, error empty name memory give effective name and the should I use this code or should I write it myself to understand it better? I think I'm going to use this code. Since the main implementation of our queue is done, I can sometimes use AI code, I think. So let me just do this. Okay. So I have a factory on my very queue, a new Redis factory, which generates a new Redis queue. Okay, so let me merge this into queue factory, which will be a queue dot factory type instead of creating this. I can pass what it takes is on a client universal Redis factory. If I pass a client, Redis factory, how will I use it? That's the question. So I have a Redis factory client. Let me think what we can do. I have a factory. How to integrate it? When you Redis from here. After creating a client, I can create queue factory equals to factory table queue dot new Redis factory, and we will pass the client on Redis client. We have assignment mismatch one variable, but queue dot factor returns two values. It returns what it returns is the error 2. So what I'll do is I'll write it here, somewhere here like this. After my client has been validated, I will create a queue factory, new Redis queue factory, Redis factory. It will return as a queue factory. Then error. What I'll do is if error not equals to nil, I'll take this. Okay. Okay, to the type of periodic error is not equals to nil. What should I do? Log dot. Is it a fatal error? Yes, it is a fatal error. All the API will not work. Failed to create my Redis queue. factory. Should I? Yeah. Should to create a Redis-backed factory. That will be enough for now. With the error, we should send to me and our error will pass it. So I have a queue factory now. So instead of creating queue.new Redis queue, I'll do here is queue factory dot new and the name will be default. Okay. And I should keep the code the queue factory and all the working down there. A queue factory will be created. And I have a queue factory here. Next thing I'll do is else. In the else case, I'll create a queue factory equals to queue dot new memory factory, and it doesn't take anything and it doesn't return any error because it's just creating a it's just creating a map queue factory dot name, and it takes a name which will be our default, and but queue factory returns two values. Declared and main field is like if error will be returned is why is main field not used? Main field is used as main field factory and main field is equals to if error not equals to nil, I'll do is log.filter left enter same thing, but this will not fail, so I can just memory keep. It will not fail most probably, but still declared and not used. Why main queue is not used? Main queue has been used. I don't think there's an error like this that should occur. Main queue is like the queue of queue. It comes from here. Okay. So instead of doing this, I can simply have the old code, which was because it doesn't matter here that much. Instead of using the queue factory, I can use this, and here I can do something like what is our approach? Our approach is to queue factory equals to queue. This our naming was Redis store, Redis queue, and Redis factory. I can name it Redis factory instead. Okay, so what I'll do is Redis factory is equal to this. I'll leave Redis factory dot new Redis queue. Here we will have factory equal to Redis factory. This will work fine. One error I am getting is queue factory declared and not used. Yep, currently it's not being used, but I'll pass it in the server.go. So it will take a queue factory, which will be queue dot factory type, and it will also take a queue factory. So I'll just pass along the queue factory. For a factory for the network factory, which would be a queue down factory type, and it will be okay. Here I'll pass it along to factory, and I think this will work fine for me. I'll have to check everything out. That's why I'm thinking about moving to test-driven development from the next week onward. Okay, I have a DL to show. What I'll do is Q factory mostly defined it in the script. Q factory Q dot factory line. Factory Q dot factory line and that I think is all we need here. It will pass s dot factory, s dot q factory, and now I have the help, and now I can easily create. So what I'll do is q h dot q factory dot name. The name will be our string, will be our name, which will be passed along from the queue. You might be thinking why I'm fumbling that much today, because I haven't practiced or thought about what I'll do today. In the prior videos I always had the idea what I needed to do, but today I am doing it basically blindfolded because I didn't have the time to prepare before the stream. So queue name equals to, it will be about g dot URL param. This should be our I think name is quite fine for now. And what's the issue? We want not enough argument for the okay. I need from the request. Okay. And the next thing is the new part. What I'll do is I'll pass along the queue name. This will be string. Yep. But before doing so, let's just filter that out. If queue name I have to validate the queue name, like it can't be a number, like if queue name dot to, how can I check if it is a number? Sometimes the user can pass something like 0, 1, but it doesn't matter. If it passes 1, 2 or something like that, it should work fine. Okay, 1, it should also work for 2, 3, email and all that. One thing I'll do is I'll have queue name equals to queue name strings dot dot to lowercase. Okay, so it will return as a lowercase. That's all we need. What if I pass a number here? Let me check it by doing something like what if I pass number, but the string will be number string in lower in both. Okay, what did happen? Passing a string containing only registers results in no change. Okay, that's okay. So it will not be a problem for us. Just for the sake of consistency, I'll pass the two. I'll add two lower towards this argument, so that email and slash email converge to the same thing. Okay, so I'll have a new, it will return me an error or and a queue. I'll take the queue and the error from here and I'll register it later. Before that, I have to check if there is an error. What I'll do is I'll write a response to w dot the right w dot how was that, like how I'm writing error. Yep, I have defined this. That was the issue I was thinking of. Right error. Yep, I'll use right error instead. So it will pass w and the status will be our internal server error, because this will be internal server error. Could not something like that. What is the error scheme I am following? I am using lowercase letters. Could not create new queue. The name doesn't matter. Could not create new queue is appropriate, or should I pass along the name with name? So I should use error fmp or sprintf. Could not create queue with name new. Name is our percent p and should I pass along the error? I shouldn't pass along the errors to the end user. That should remain internal to me. I'll check this out. Percent I'll pass along name, queue name, and I should use percent as well. Okay, I have a queue now. I have a valid queue. What I'll do is I'll register the queue. So I have h.queuemanager dot register. So what register is our queue. It will give us an error. So the error is already defined. If error, I'll write error http internal server error, http dot internal server error. I'll simply pass along the messages could not register, failed to register, new queue, failed to, could not is failed to create new queue with name this and failed to register new queue. That is good. So what it will do is, I think the work here is done. And lastly, I'll return write JSON on w last. The status is 201. So the status will be http dot create status created and it will be empty interface for now. It will pass along like all the person when it creates a job and passes it. Whatever queue should I pass along the queue? What is a queue? A queue can have multiple values like a name and a length. So it will pass my name and a length. Let me just see the implementation of our queue. Um, queue struct, the Redis struct, new Redis queue, it will pass along. I can't pass along this. Where's the queue struct? I think I don't need to pass along this. It will expose our payload key and that all. I'll pass along the empty struct, the empty. Or I can simply pass around. It takes any, so I'll pass along. Queue created successfully. Created and registered. I should return success instead. Success. New. That's all we need. Or I can pass it true or a false here. That will change whether we, in later stages, if we change the implementation of a queue or our API service. For now, it works fine. It works fine. So, what are the other methods I can expose or should expose? I should expose the length of a particular queue. If a user wants to see the length of a particular queue, should he be able to see that or should he not? That's a question to be answered like queue. Firstly, let's set up a function that will expose the list of queues currently we have. So it's a simple function which will be found on the handler. It will be list all queues. But instead of list all queues, list any multiple queues. For now, let's don't think about rate limiting. I was thinking about using the what do we call that? Pagination. Yeah, I was thinking about using pagination, but I think for now, let's stick normal. And I will close the stream after this because I think I need to study again the architecture. I have what I need and what I don't like. I have to decide on that first. I am doing this without any. So it will get function. It will not take anything. It will simply. Is there a failure path here? Let's see. Can this fail? List names can fail. It will return them in the name of list. So I'll simply write this W has to be dot success status. What will be our success? That's okay. Oh, gateway gone. No. What should it? Status okay. And it will return us. Should I call the function directly here? What's the function? It's simply h dot queue manager dot list. So it will give us an array of strings and I'll pass it on that. Just for the queues puts list names h dot queue manager dot list names. So to show the queue here and I'll pass along the queue here. That's it. It doesn't throw any error. So I think it will work fine and it doesn't take anything. So this is a simple function. Firstly, let me just add these to our definitions. Also, I think I need to clean this up here. R dot and firstly a post route, which will be our pattern will be our slash q slash name project and it will take create h dot create new. Yep. And it was name, right? Yep, it was name. And lastly dot get route for our pattern will be get route will be our pattern slash. So if I get this, it will give you the list of the queues and the function will be h dot list queue. I should name it. Okay, list queues is okay. Let's check these out. For that, let's test this out. Do I have a old build? I should double check first so that it doesn't interfere. Oh, build. Okay, so slash GoTaskQ is again memory backend. Why is it in? Yeah, I didn't set the environment. I also need to set up a automatic environment setup for now. Let's now it will use the Redis version. Now what I'll do is I'll create a new queue called dash x, or I could use a client. Let's use Postman, or should I use curl? Curl dash x. How was jobs? Curl. How did I handle the jobs? Yep, this one. So I'll just copy it. Go shift 3 and remove everything. Why did I copy it? I could have just changed that. Okay, curl as I so we'll have slash q slash name should be like email. Let's try with email and content type application JSON. We don't need application JSON. I should pass into the success creating new queue. Should I pass post? Yeah. Next we will check curl http localhost 8000 slash default and an email queue. Yeah. Okay. What if I create a new queue named email? Fail to register new queue. And it's returning me a success creating new queue. That's the issue. I have to change it. Fail to create a new return from here. It should return from here. And I think only two queues are there. But let's fail to create a new queue. Fail to register new queue. For register, I can simply send B. Too many arguments in the call. Oh, I need it to be inside. Control F T dot S print F. Let's format this document and build. I only have a default queue. Let's create email queue twice. Fail to register new queue. Now it's giving us a good queue already exists. What if I use 1, 2, 5? 25 default queue. 25 default and email queue. So I think the work here is done. I'll push the code and tomorrow onward I'll come prepared before the stream, and also, as I said, I am working on learning the test-driven development. From next week onwards, we will switch to test-driven development. Next week onwards, I mean by from around 10th of May, I'll switch to test-driven development. Till then, I'll learn about that, and on 9th of May, I'll write all the tests for our rebuild system we have currently built. Okay, so that's all for today. Thanks for watching.